The confrontation deferred. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, but fear held me back. Fear of what I might lose, fear of what I might discover. Instead, I smiled weakly and pretended to believe her. Inside, however, I began to plan. The plan. If there was a truth hidden in the shadows of my marriage, I would uncover it. I would not be the blind man in the house of glass. I would be the one who shattered the illusion and faced whatever lay beneath. Daniel often told stories about his travels, his failed romances, his victories at work. He had a way of turning the mundane into the extraordinary. Anna listened with rapt attention, her eyes wide, her lips parted slightly, as though she were drinking in every word. I sat across from them, watching, listening, pretending to laugh at the right moments. But inside, I was cataloging every detail. The way her body leaned toward him, the way his gaze lingered on her longer than necessary. Later that night, when the house was quiet and Anna lay beside me, I asked, "Do you think Daniel is lonely?" She turned to me, her expression unreadable. "Maybe. He's always been searching for something." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Searching for something, or someone. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to trust him, but trust is not a switch you can turn on and off. It is a fragile thread, and once frayed, it cannot be repaired. I began to wonder, was I the fool in this story? The man who believed in steel beams while everyone else saw the glass? It was a text message that changed everything. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't the kind of man who snooped through his wife's phone. But one evening, as her device buzzed on the counter, I glanced at the screen. A message from Daniel. "I can't stop thinking about last night." My heart stopped. Anna entered the room, saw me staring, and snatched the phone quickly. "It's nothing," she said, her voice trembling. "He's just being dramatic." But the parasite had already grown too strong. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, but fear held me back. Fear of what I might lose, fear of what I might discover. Instead, I smiled weakly and pretended to believe her. Inside, however, I began to plan. If there was a truth hidden in the shadows of my marriage, I would uncover it. I would not be the blind man in the house of glass. I would be the one who shattered the illusion and faced whatever lay beneath. It was a Tuesday when I found the photo. I wasn't looking for it. I had opened Anna's laptop to check a shared calendar for our son's school recital. She had left it on the kitchen counter, lid half open, humming in sleep mode. I tapped the trackpad, and the screen blinked awake. The desktop was cluttered. Folders named work, recipes, taxes, and one simply titled MISC. I clicked it without thinking. There it was, a photo. Daniel and Anna. It was from my birthday party 2 months ago. I remember the moment vaguely. Daniel had insisted on taking a selfie with her while I was in the kitchen slicing cake. But this wasn't that photo. This was a different angle, a different moment. They were sitting close. Too close. Her hand was on his thigh, his head tilted toward hers, lips near her ear. She was laughing, eyes closed. The timestamp said 9:42 p.m. I had been in the kitchen then. My stomach twisted. I closed the laptop. I didn't say a word. That night, Daniel came over again. He brought a bottle of red wine and a story about a client who had tried to pay him in cryptocurrency and a goat. Anna laughed, of course. I laughed too, but it felt like my face was made of wax. I watched them, every glance, every shared smile, every time their eyes met and lingered just a second too long. "Remember that trip to the lake house?" Daniel asked, pouring wine into Anna's glass. "That storm that came out of nowhere?" Anna smiled. "How could I forget? We were soaked." I remembered that trip. I had driven up late after a meeting. They had arrived earlier.
I had found them sitting by the fireplace, drying their clothes, laughing about something they wouldn't tell me. Back then, I hadn't thought twice. Now, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Later, after Daniel left, I asked Anna, "Did you take any pictures at my birthday?" She paused. "A few. Why?" "Just wondering. I don't remember seeing any." I nodded. She shrugged. "They weren't great. I deleted most of them." I nodded. "Even the one with Daniel?" She blinked. "Which one?" "The one where you're laughing, on the couch." A flicker of something crossed her face. Surprise, maybe, or fear. "Oh, that one. I forgot about it. You still have it?" "I don't think so." I said nothing. She turned away, busying herself with the dishes. We stopped touching each other. Not all at once. It was gradual. A missed kiss here, a turned shoulder there. She began to go to bed earlier. I stayed up later. Our conversations became transactional. "Did you pick up the dry cleaning? Can you take Leo to soccer practice? We're out of milk." The warmth was gone. And yet she smiled more. Not with me, but when her phone buzzed, when she typed out messages with her back turned. I began to feel like a ghost in my own home.
I invited Daniel over for drinks. Just the two of us. Anna was out with friends, or so she said. I didn't ask which friends. I didn't need to. I lit the fire pit in the backyard, poured 2 glasses of scotch, and waited. Daniel arrived 10 minutes late, as always, with that same easy grin and a 6-pack of beer under his arm. "Man, it's been a while since we did this," he said, settling into the chair across from me. "Just us." I smiled. "Yeah, too long." He didn't notice the tension in my jaw. Or maybe he did and chose to ignore it. We talked about work, politics, the usual. I let him lead. I watched his hands, his eyes, the way he sipped his drink. Then I asked, "You ever think about settling down again?" He laughed. "Me? Nah, I'm not built for marriage, you know that." "But you were married once." He shrugged. "Yeah, and I learned my lesson." I nodded slowly. "Still, must get lonely." He looked at me then, something flickering behind his eyes. "Sometimes. But I've got you guys. You and Anna, you're like family." I raised my glass. "To family." He clinked his glass against mine. "To family." And he smiled. That smile. Too warm, too familiar. The same smile he gave her. The next day, I told Anna I had a late meeting. I didn't. I parked 2 blocks away and waited. At 6:47 p.m., Daniel's car pulled into our driveway. He didn't knock. He used the spare key. I watched the lights flicker on in the living room, then the bedroom. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I didn't go in. Not yet. I needed more. I bought a voice recorder, small, discreet. I hid it behind the books on the shelf in our bedroom. I told Anna I was going on a business trip. She barely looked up from her phone. "Be safe," she said. No kiss, no hug, just silence. I drove to a motel on the edge of town and waited. The next day, I returned home before she did, retrieved the recorder. My hands trembled as I pressed play. At first, nothing, just the hum of the heater, the creak of floorboards, then voices. Her laugh, his voice, muffled words, then silence, then a sound I can't describe. I turned it off. I didn't need to hear more. The next time I saw Daniel, I watched him closely. He smiled at me, that same smile, but now I saw it for what it was. Not warmth, not friendship, a mask, a lie. That night, I dreamed I was drowning. I was in a glass house, underwater, watching Anna and Daniel through the walls. They were laughing, dancing, their hands intertwined. I pounded on the glass, screaming, but no sound came out. They didn't see me. Or maybe they did, and they didn't care.
I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep smiling at the man who had stolen my wife. I couldn't keep sleeping beside the woman who had betrayed me. But I also couldn't confront them yet, not until I understood why, not until I knew the full truth, because something still didn't add up. There were gaps, inconsistencies, and a part of me, small, desperate, still hoped I was wrong. I asked Anna, "Do you love him?" She looked up from her book, startled. "What?" "Daniel, do you love him?" She stared at me for a long moment, then said, "That's a cruel question, but not an untrue one." She stood up. "I'm going to bed." I didn't follow. The next time Daniel smiled at me, I didn't smile back. He noticed. His eyes narrowed just for a second. Then the smile returned. But it was thinner now, forced, cracked, like glass. She started sleeping on the edge. At first, it was subtle, a few inches of space between us, then a pillow between our bodies, then silence. I'd wake in the middle of the night and reach for her, only to find cold sheets. Sometimes she was in the bathroom. Sometimes she was downstairs, scrolling through her phone in the dark. Once, I found her asleep on the couch. She said she didn't want to wake me, but I was already awake. Our son, Leo, turned 8. We threw a party in the backyard. Balloons, cake, a magician. Daniel came, of course. He brought a telescope as a gift. Anna hugged him when he arrived, a little too long. I watched them from the grill, flipping burgers with a forced smile. Later, I caught Daniel helping her in the kitchen. Their voices were low, intimate. I stepped into the doorway just in time to see her hand brush his. They froze. Then she laughed, too loudly. "Oh, hey, we were just talking about the wine." Daniel nodded, eyes avoiding mine. "Yeah, the wine." I said nothing, but I saw everything. I started writing again. Not poetry, not fiction, just facts. A log. Thursday, 6:42 p.m. Anna leaves in gym clothes, returns at 9:11 p.m. Hair damp, smells of citrus. Saturday, 3:15 p.m. Daniel calls. She answers in the hallway, whispering. Sunday, 11 a.m. She deletes her call log. I wasn't sure what I was building. A case? A confession? A monument to my own unraveling? But writing it down made it real. And I needed real, because everything else felt like smoke. One night I came home to find the table set for 2. Candles, wine, her favorite music playing softly. She looked up, startled. "Oh, I thought you were working late." I canceled. A pause. She forced a smile. "Well, dinner's ready." We ate in silence. I watched her. She barely touched her food. I asked, "Was someone here?" She blinked. "What?" "There are 2 glasses." I was testing the wine. I nodded. "Of course." She stood up. "I'm not doing this." "Doing what?" "This. The interrogation. The suspicion." I leaned back. "Then tell me the truth." She stared at me. "I don't know what you're talking about." And she walked away. Our son, Leo, began asking questions. "Why are you and Mommy always mad?" I knelt beside him. "We're not mad, just tired." He frowned. "Did I do something wrong?" My heart cracked. "No, buddy, you're perfect." He nodded, but I saw the doubt in his eyes. Children always know, even when we think we're hiding it. I looked at myself again. The man in the mirror looked older, not in years, in weight, in silence. I touched my face. When had I become this? A man who spies, who doubts, who waits. I used to be someone else, someone who believed in love. One afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number, a woman's voice. "Is this Michael?" "Yes." I think we should talk about Anna." My heart stopped. "Who is this?" A pause. "My name is Claire. I'm Daniel's ex." We met at a small cafe near the train station. Claire was already there, sitting by the window, stirring her coffee with a trembling hand. She looked tired, not in the way of someone who hadn't slept, but in the way of someone who had carried too much for too long. "You look just like he described," she said as I sat down. I didn't know what to say to that. She slid a manila envelope across the table. "I don't want to get involved, but you deserve to know." I opened it. Photos. Daniel and Anna. Together. Not just once, not just recently. Years. Different cities, different clothes, different seasons. One photo was dated 6 months before Anna and I even met. My blood ran cold. "You were with him then?" I asked. Claire nodded. "He said she was just a fling, but it never ended, even after we got married, even after you did." I stared at the photos. A timeline of betrayal. A love story I never knew I was part of. That night, I didn't go home. I drove. Nowhere in particular, just away. The city blurred past me, neon lights, rain on the windshield. I pulled over at a gas station and sat in the car, staring at the steering wheel. I thought about Leo, about the bedtime stories I used to read him, about the way he'd curl up beside me on the couch. I thought about Anna's laugh, the way she used to look at me. And I thought about Daniel, my best friend, my brother, the man who had been with my wife before I ever knew her, and never stopped. When I finally walked through the front door, Anna was waiting. She looked up, startled. "Where were you?" I held up the envelope. She didn't ask what it was. She already knew. Her face crumpled. She sat down slowly, like her legs had given out. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered, "so many times, but you didn't." "No." "Why?" She looked up at me, eyes red. "Because I loved you, and I loved him, and I didn't know how to choose." I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "So you chose both." She didn't deny it. We didn't speak for days. We moved through the house like ghosts. Leo sensed it. He stopped asking questions. He just watched us, wide-eyed.